Hello, welcome along to another video. Something a little bit different this time. I did a video last week about my new driver and people seem to really like that. Got a lot of views, so I thought I'd go through the rest of my bag and show what I'm playing and the story about why I'm playing some of it. So there's certain things that I use that might not be the most obvious choice. And the story of how I came to do that might be something that's interesting to you and might be something for you to think about when you're putting your own bag together. So we'll start at the short end of the bag with the wedges. So as you can see, they're the Mizuno T22 raw wedges. Raw in that they have no chrome or other colouring put on them. So I should say before I go on that I got fitted for everything in my bag other than the putter in the last 12 months. Fitted at Precision Golf over in West Byfleet in Surrey in the UK. If you've not heard of Precision Golf, you might not be from the UK. If you're from the UK, you definitely have heard of them. I'll put a link to their YouTube channel in the description. They're putting out a bunch of really great content at the moment. The place is absolutely incredible. It's I can't describe just how amazing the facility is. They've got every shaft, every head you could imagine all lined up, and maybe 6 or 7 TrackMan bays. Everyone that works there is the top of their game, from fitters to club builders, coaching staff, physical trainers, chiropractor, putting experts. It's the one-stop shop, and if you're anywhere near the south of England, you owe it to yourself to give them a visit. Anyway, so back to the wedges. So I was fitted indoors, and I think that Precision have a video about indoor wedge fitting and why it works and why it can work. They're set up to have special places to hit wedges off of that are different to the normal teeing area that you use. So the process then was to we'd already done the irons and hybrid and fairway wood. So Mark had a good idea of me as a player by that point. Knew that I was a kind of low spin, low launch kind of guy, which I'm a bit higher spin, higher launch since then, but still probably on the lower side of that spectrum still. We started with the Vokeys as a baseline. Felt great, performed well. Then, in an effort to see if we could get some more spin, tried the TaylorMade wedges with the raw face. They span a lot more and weirdly felt way nicer to hit, like just the old cliche of buttery. So I don't know whether that was a material difference or whether it was a centre of gravity difference or something like that. It just suited my swing in some way. And I loved those. They looked really good behind the ball. And then to try again, trying to get more spin, went to the Mizuno raw, and they span considerably more. They didn't feel quite as good, but the performance was tip top. So we went with them. 51, 55 and 59 degree to get good gap in with the 47 degree pitching wedge that came in the iron set. 8 degrees of bounce in the 51 and then 9 degrees of bounce in the other two. We then went through all of the literature on sole grinds, worked through the Mizuno website together, talked about my game, the sort of shots I like to play, whether I open it up, etc., etc., which I don't do. I play a lot, most of my shots square faced. Do it have the toe, the club up on the toe sometimes for chip shots if it's a dodgy lie, so that sort of thing. So ended up with an S grind in the 51, D grind in the 55, and a C grind in the 59. So really all bases are covered, and I just need to remember which does what if I'm trying to do something fancy, like getting my hands really low or something like that. The shafts are the Nippon NS Pro Modus 3 Tour 125 in the wedge flex, which matches the irons, which we'll come on to now. So I think I was playing off 13 when I went to get fitted. There's a long story around this. I'll give the short version because we'll be here for weeks otherwise. But I had this kind of theory in my head that people that played blades with X100s in them as young people, it was a kind of self-selecting thing that they had to swing well in order to be able to hit those clubs, and it kind of, the heavy shafts and the small sweet spot kind of instilled good swing mechanics in people. To that end, I bought myself a Titleist blade 7-iron off of eBay with an X100 in it and practiced with it for hours and hours and hours, and my swing definitely changed. And it changed to the point that the clubs I had previously, I could barely put a good swing on them after. I used to get clanky contact. These were like lighter shafts, much more forgiving, mid-handicap style heads, but I couldn't hit them for toffee. So part of the process when I went to get fitted was to say this to Mark and just kind of let him do his thing and work out what it was. I told him my theory, but I was really there to play whatever worked best. The only thing I could find, I did have some other heavy shafted clubs that again I couldn't really hit very well, and the only constant thing that I could find that was different was that the swing weight was quite light on the blade that I bought. So I told Mark and we tested that. So it turned out that any club that had a sole that wasn't narrow, or had a sole that was narrow but quite kind of profiled in some way, like the Shrixons with their V sole, just didn't work for me for some reason. I tried all sorts of clubs, all sorts of like bladey or players cavity clubs, and most of them just performed nowhere near as well as a bladed iron. The spin was good, the launch was good. Everything about it just suggested that they were the right things to play. Mark noted, and I hesitate to say this because it really sounds showing off, but I didn't really miss the middle of the club face very often or by very much. So my bad shots weren't impact location. It was more angle of attack and face orientation, which were things that I was working on with my coach Stu. So traditional lofts, like I said in the wedge thing, low launch kind of guy, low spin kind of guy. So traditional lofts, and then I tried the CBs in the Titleist as well. So the CBs felt pretty much the same, perhaps a little bit less solid feeling, but they did launch higher, and they spun a little bit less. So Mark had the idea to combo them with the higher launch in the longer clubs and the lower spin, kind of getting me a little bit of distance, but the descent angle was still there, so they still stopped. So we went pitching wedge to 7 iron in the MB, and then 6 to 4 iron in the CB. And I have to say, honestly, I think I could play the CBs all the way up. I could possibly play the MBs all the way down, but the 4 iron CB is probably my favourite club to hit. It just feels so easy to hit, and the ball flight is high, and it just seems to go on forever. So I think Mark's suggestion was a fantastic one there. The thing that was interesting, I mentioned about the swing weight. So the one that I bought off of eBay was a D2, which is pretty light. Anywhere else we went other than D2 was considerably worse, and we went a little bit lighter and quite a lot heavier. On the shafts we went quite a lot lighter as well than the X100, and there was a considerable drop off in my ability to hit the ball well with anything lighter than like a 125 gram shaft. So we went with the Modus 125S, which is a 125 gram shaft in stiff. It actually feels, and it performed a lot better than the X100. It feels really soft through impact. Like, I'm not entirely sure that I prefer the feeling, but it just performed so much better. So it was a no-brainer. The hybrid. So I've never liked hybrids. I always found them super hooky. I felt like I was having to really manipulate it to hold the face open, and just never got on with them at all, to the point that I'd stopped using one for ages, and had like a tailor-made 1 iron, the UDI 1 iron, which I only ever used off the tee, and that thing went for miles. And playing links golf, you could hit it head height, 260, just it would only carry like 100 yards and would roll forever. Mark said that things had changed, hybrid technology had changed, and he thought that I'd be surprised with what we could come up with. So we had the Ping G425 hybrid. We tried different lofts. I didn't care what number was on the bottom, so we basically got to the point where we could have the 3 hybrid or the 4 hybrid, and then adjust the loft with the sleeve. So we went with the 4 and lofted it down, and it is an absolute anti-left machine. It is so good to be able to know that I can just aim left edge of wherever I'm aiming, and know that it's not going to go any further left than that. The shaft is the Graphite Design Tour ADDI, the hybrid version, 75 gram stiff. I love the way this looks. I've seen quite a few people with that shaft in the driver playing on the tour over the years, and I really like it. It looks great. Golf Pride Tour Velvet standard grip on everything. That's my coach Stu is kind of like, why would you play anything else? Don't mess about. I like to be different sometimes, but I kind of had it beaten out of me this time. The Fairway wood, similar sort of story. The Ping G425, this is the Max, and then the theme of trying to get launch, we actually went with a 5 wood as my only fairway wood. The shaft is the Mitsubishi C6 Blue, which is 70 gram stiff. Mark did fit me for another shaft, and he said, I want to try this one. I think it's going to be perfect. It's really, really expensive. Let's try it and then see if anything else gets close. So, I mean, I appreciate it, that sort of service. I don't know what the other shaft was, but this one, like in comparison, did basically the same job. Never enjoyed hitting fairway wood before. This and the hybrid have absolutely transformed my game. If I'm like 230 out, knowing that I can just pick a club depending on the wind or whatever and just hit it without fear has made such a difference. We've got a par 4 on our course where you absolutely can't go right of the green, and knowing that the uphill kind of 230 yard shot, I can just aim to the right edge of the green and let it draw around, and the miss will be left. It's liberating. It's absolutely fantastic, and I guess that's a big thing about the fitting process, is that it suits your game and just lets you feel that way about the shots that you're going to hit. Which brings me on to the driver. So we didn't do the driver fitting, or we started to. I'd hit a lot of golf balls that day. I wasn't really in the best place swing wise at the end of it, with all the messing about that we'd done. So we decided to postpone the driver for another day. The driver was working well for me. It was the least important part of the bag, I thought, at the time, in terms of needing remedial action. So I went back recently. Now, the feeling I had with that old driver, and I'm going to do a separate video about this, was that it would push, like wherever I thought I was aiming, it would almost be like 30 degrees right of that. And I ended up trying to do all sorts of like things around my routine to ensure that I minimised the damage from that, or maximised the kind of benefit of knowing that, I guess. So I'd be aiming at left edge, knowing that my shot dispersion was kind of like 5 yards left and 55 yards right or whatever. I'd be aiming for that sort of thing, having to pick a spot on the floor, being really, really careful around club face orientation to that spot, and then I would swing and the club face would still deliver like way open to that. But I was getting round and hitting draws off of that push, and they looked like good shots. Just people didn't really know where I was aiming, and I'd gotten comfortable with it, but I didn't feel like I did with the other clubs in the bag, especially the fairway wood, like I mentioned. So that was kind of the aim of going back and getting a driver fit. And I had a club that worked exceptionally well. Wanted to kind of use that as a blueprint. I had a feeling of why it worked. I kind of felt I was over the shot, kind of, covering it with your chest sort of feeling, which I didn't get with a driver at all. So the driver I had was a Ping G25. I'd shortened the shaft. I'd swing weighted it myself with my rudimentary homemade tools. And I'd managed to get it out to D2.5, which kind of matched up with everything else. So Nick, who did my driver fitting, we went through all the different options, like counterweighted shafts, balance points, high up, low down, etc., and we kind of settled on things that worked for me and things that didn't work for me. And interestingly, I'd get handed a club. I don't know a lot about shafts and that sort of thing, so I'd get handed a club, I'd swing, and some of them I just couldn't hit at all. I'd hit it like way out of the hill or whatever, and it was quite interesting. In the driver fitting, again, I didn't really miss the middle very much. Certainly not laterally. Like up and down, there was some variance. Could hit it low on the face, a little bit more than high on the face. So that was kind of interesting to see. So we settled on the Fujikura Ventus Blue, a 5S, so a stiff shaft. I think it's like a shade under 60 grams, like 58, something like that. And I'd been fitted into the Ping G430, and I was happy. It worked. It felt nice. Was like super forgiving, and kind of did the business. But then Nick said to me, "So, how do you like the looks?" And I said, "I think it looks awful. I really hated the look of it, but didn't care. I went there to use whatever worked for me. No ego, no predetermined kind of feelings." And he said, "Oh, we can't have that." He said, "At some point that is going to matter. You need to have a club that you love the look of." So he went and got the Titleist. Instantly, looked nicer to me. I didn't like the stuff on the crown of the Ping. It was distracting to me. The Titleist is a classic looking, still not shaped the way I kind of imagine a driver to shape, to look. I'd prefer something a little bit smaller, but all the ones that look that way are all low spin, and that is no good for me. As I've mentioned a few times, I am a low spin guy. So fitted into the Ping. Interestingly, I felt like I could feel the head a lot more. Certainly knew where I'd hit it on the face a lot more, and that's become pretty important to me. Being able to assess a shot, finding out, did it draw because the club face was shut, or did it draw because I hit it out of a certain point on the club face. So that's the long clubs, if you like. Onto the putter. So Odyssey X7 or number 7. I've had this for donkey's years. Probably got it when I first started playing golf in the early 2000s. My dad used it for a long time, gave it back to me with the grip completely worn out. It was 35 inches originally. I had switched to using a 34-inch putter when I came back to golf. I cut this one down, put the Odyssey paddle style grip on it, and it's spot on for me. I think that the lie angle's slightly upright, maybe a degree or two, I can't remember. But yeah, it fits me perfectly. It suits my eye. I feel like I can line up well with it, and there's not really much to say about it. I'd really like to try one with the non-insert. I think that they do one in the kind of expensive Odyssey line. I like the click I get off the ball. I play with a Titleist Pro V1X. I like that clickiness, like off the wedges and that sort of thing. So yeah, maybe one day I'll try a solid face version, but for now, this is what we've got. So I hope that's interesting. It turned out to be a pretty long video. If you've stayed till the end, congratulations. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.